Hello everybody, I'm Alexey Krabarov, the organizer of Reactive Systems Meetup, and here we are on location at Lightband, formerly TypeSafe. That's a company behind Akka, Scala, Play, and recently a mysterious system called Lagom, and which we'll hear about today. And we have James Roper with us, who is the tech lead on Play Framework and Lagom.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having us at your headquarters. So I've seen your talk at Play Framework Meetup at Vox a while ago, which was about Play Java, and Lagom is Java first. So I think I made an assumption that you are the Java king of Lightband, but you just told me that's not the case.
That's right.
Can you tell us kind of what is your balance of Scala and Java, and how kind of Java fits in this whole new strategy for Lightband?
Okay, well, Scala is my favorite programming language to work with, and I love using it. But at the end of the day, programming languages don't tend to make or break systems. I mean, Facebook is successful with PHP, so if they can be successful with PHP, it's not about programming languages. They certainly can have an impact on productivity and make you enjoy your work more, but it's at the end of the day, it's about architecture. And I guess at Lightband, we don't want the programming language to ever get in the way of people being able to solve their problems. And so if people are not looking at the stuff that we're doing because they think Scala is too complex, or they're not ready to make that leap to a new programming language, we don't want that to be the case.
Yes, that makes total sense. So I'm, also a fan of Play, and I think Play was the first major app which kind of was like Ruby on Rails for Scala. It kind of lifted Scala into mainstream web development, and but I've never actually had experience much with the Java side of things. Although my current company, Nitro, the former CTO Tiho Bajic actually replatformed the whole company on Scala. He started with Play in Java, right? Because he was a Java developer. So his path into that was, play with Java and then kind of upgrade to Scala and then use Akka and everything else. So I just wonder what that side of the market looked like, and what does it look like? Like how much usage you see for playing Java, and what is the kind of dynamics? Do a lot of these people learn Scala, or do they stick with Java? What's the historical experience there?
It's a big mixture. So it's roughly 50% Scala and Java. Certainly, I mean that varies, and it's really hard to know exactly what people are using. Yes, there are some people that use Play Java, and that's what they stick with, and we tend to see particularly the large enterprise companies where they're traditionally Java, and they're just not interested in having to do that reskilling from Java to Scala, and so they use Play Java and they stick with Play Java and they're happy with Play Java. But then we see a lot of other people that start with Play Java, and that kind of it gives them an itch to learn Scala because they see things done in a bit of a different way with Java, and they're wanting to learn more about it, and then they look at the same things done in Scala and they see, because it's so accessible, because Scala is just there in Play, and so they want to learn more, and that's how they get into Scala, through that.
Cool. So apparently, obviously, like there's probably much more companies using Java in aggregate than Scala, and so and there's some like people want to use Akka through Java API as well. So I wonder how the dynamics played in this decision to kind of do Lagom Java first.
So there's a few things. I mean, we've been saying that Java is just important to us as Scala for a number of years. But then, we always produce Scala APIs first, and often our Scala APIs, and this has been the case in Play for a while, are more full-featured than the Java APIs. So Lagom gave us an opportunity to actually say, no, Java is just as important. In fact, this time we're going to do Java first. Another thing that we found is that it tended to be our Java. Lagom is about guiding users to write microservices in the right way, and it tended to be our Java customers that were asking us more questions about how to get started with microservices, whereas our Scala customers were tending to be asking us other questions. And so we felt that we would get the most value and we would get the best feedback early on if we went with Java first.
Interesting. So Java guys basically wanted microservices, and obviously microservices are some of the really most popular topics I've seen. So we did a Scala meetup on microservices last month, and we got a record number. Like we had, Chris Richardson and Jamie Allen actually kind of doing a preview of Lagom, and we had, full house. So apparently microservices is very important. So, I mean, why do you guys see them kind of such an important thing? Like, why customers want them, and like what do we do with them?
There certainly is a fad aspect to microservices where it's the latest, hottest thing, so that's people want to do it, which is doesn't mean that microservices are not a good thing just because it's a fad.
Right.
I think a lot of companies are finding that software is having to become a core competency, and they find that they're having to solve difficult problems, particularly scaling problems, their systems need to be resilient. And their monoliths are letting them down doing this. Their monoliths are slowing them down in terms of how long it takes them to develop features, having really long release cycles. They're unable to keep up with their competition. They're unable to scale to meet the demand. And so microservices offer a solution to that, which is, I think, why people are so interested in them.
Cool. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit. I'm curious, how folks become interested in different technologies. So you are from Australia originally.
Yep.
Can you talk about how you got interested in Scala? How did you come to TypeSafe, now Lightband, and what drew you into this area?
I first heard about Scala when I was working at Atlassian. In fact, somebody ran a Scala workshop at Atlassian, and I went to it, and it just went completely over my head. I didn't understand anything, so that actually is where my Scala interest stopped there. But then I spent a year in Germany, in Berlin, and I worked for a company that had a very polyglot stack of microservices, and there was a mixture of everything. There was PHP, Java, Scala, Python, Erlang, and so that is where I started getting my first taste of Scala, and I really liked what I saw. So I started, introducing little bits of Scala into the Java services that I was maintaining, and then we also started a project where there were some people who were really interested in Play. And it was right when Play 2 was released.
Okay.
And so we started using Play 2, and we were using the Java API, but I really liked what I saw with Play, and so I started getting involved in the Play community, and that's where my Scala knowledge started really growing.
Oh, cool. So you actually saw this microservices approach early on. That's very, very interesting. It's because Play is used a lot now as actually kind of headless backend service with API, right? So like you can write Angular apps against it, not necessarily using.
It's probably how most people do use it. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So I know that there are several great developers in Australia using Scala, or like regionally there is Chris Hunt, who is still there and works for Lightband, and he's doing Conductor. There is Eric Torrebori, who I think moved back to Europe. And Nick had a whole bunch of these folks. So what is it about kind of Australian engineering culture which makes it especially good for Scala? Is there any kind of special reason?
I'd like to know the answer to that myself. I mean, there also does Australian Scala developers have a reputation to be a certain brand of Scala developers who are often a bit more pure about functional programming. Not all of us. I'm definitely not in that category, but
because you spent some time in Germany.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess. I mean, a lot of them do come out of the academic circles, so Nicta I'd like to know the answer
Obviously,
myself.
Tony Morris is there, right? Like we have
Yep.
really high bar for abstraction.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed like, and speaking about Conductor, right? I've seen Conductor talk by Chris actually of all places in Tokyo. I had to go to Tokyo to see this
Yep.
at Scala Matsuri, and I was really impressed. And I was surprised that it's not been talked about much here in the Bay Area because, you know, as kind of, you know, a developer who wants to have control, I'd love to be able to do things like this. So can you kind of mention how Conductor interact with Lagom and kind of what's the idea there? Like, can you be a developer and do all this stuff yourself?
So Conductor is the default deployment platform in Lagom. We haven't made Lagom so that it's tied to Conductor, but it's what we've provided, at least in the first version, is this is the way you deploy it. So, and it's got quite a number of great features to help that. I mean, the support for Akka out of the box, we heavily use Akka clustering in Lagom, and developers not having to worry about how their Akka cluster gets configured and how the nodes know about each other is a real help there. It's also, you know, when you're doing microservices, as I said, this was really about guiding users in how to do things. And so having Conductor where it gives you your service locator and service gateway, it lets you do the scaling. I understand that the most recent release, or very soon, they're going to have auto scaling and features like that. I think the developers that are asking how do I do this really need that to guide them in how to do things. So it kind of fits our whole narrative for Lagom kind of perfectly.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I was very impressed with Conductor, so I hope, you know, we can have a whole series about Lagom and Conductor at this meetup, right? Because this meetup is about reactive systems and is actually language agnostic. So we can talk about deployments, we can talk about architectures in a very general way, right? So this is super exciting. Thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing with us, and looking forward to your talk.
No worries.
Thanks.
Thank you.